Welcome to Surf Cup Sports Park just outside of San Diego for the 2019 USA Ultimate Club Championships. I'm Emmy Fitzgerald with Aaron Maraca, where we are in pool play. Phoenix out of the Raleigh, North Carolina area, taking on hometown team Southern California Wildfire. It's a rematch of a rematch in very, very sunny and breezy conditions, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this game. I think we're going to see a very evenly matched two squads. Both of these teams, when we talked to them ahead of time, were kind of not happy with their performance in one of the two prior games, right? So we heard a lot of, we played one good half, but didn't put a full game together. So really hopeful that today we see both teams put together a full game, and then we're going to have an exciting round, I think, Emmy.
I agree. Starting out is Wildfire in the black jerseys on offense, but running through is Kristen Reed. So Phoenix looking for the first score of the game, which would be the first break. Floating, and Ellie Mellick bats that down, so disc goes back to Wildfire.
Well, so immediately notable and probably recognizable from viewers is that the wind has severely picked up. So that was an immediate zone situation for the D-line that came out here. So, definitely didn't impact the first round of play over here, but we may see a lot more, and there's an immediate example, right? Just the wind will play a bigger factor in this game, I think.
The bobble, so Wildfire, second chance on offense. Shoots straight for the end zone. That's floating, not quite in. Reed on the goal line, lets her teammates set up in an end zone set, straight up the line, but the wind just pushed that disc down.
I'm sure people notice, so directionally, the wind is coming straight at myself and Emmy. You can see some of the movement in some of these shade tents and flags. So, it is a crosswind right now. So any throw into the crosswind is going to be impacted, the flight of the disc. So interesting to see where the easy throws are and where the hard throws are. And so far this upper corner seems pretty difficult.
So Pajunas launching downwind. That is caught by Melissa Dunn. Phoenix is there right away on the match defense. Foul called. Actually, a foul called from the offense on the defense.
We are not using an observer mic this game, so we won't have any clues to kind of hear what's happening during these calls. So Emmy and I will do our best to translate for you as we figure these out.
So the count will come back in on one. Checked in about 10 yards outside the goal line. Inside backhand that pops up. Don Colton pick it up, and another huck looking for Jenny Way, and it just pushes towards this near sideline. Just very significant wind right away. I mean, we won't completely hammer that in. I think you can see it for yourself, but both teams still looking for that first goal.
Phoenix came down in a zone set to start this point, but are now transitioned into person. So we'll be interesting to see if they stay. That's a glorious, nicely placed put, but well defended.
How about that defense? Irwin so close, and that is the benefit. To Wildfire's credit, they are stretching it deep, but the defense kind of knows where it's going to go, hangs just enough. Phoenix on offense. Because it's a crosswind with the field, just have to adjust your positioning, angle of the throw a little bit.
Nice fake there. We'll hear a lot about Jenny Way over the course of this game, I'm sure, but a good example there of the matchup we might all be watching. Ellie Mellick versus Jenny Way here, certainly to be really exciting on both sides of the disc.
I love that matchup. So Way checking back in, keeping it on the far sideline. And trying to put an angle, but that was essentially an upwind swing pass. You can just see how difficult that is. Another launch, and it was back and forth, but Phoenix gets the first points on the board.
Nope, that's Wildfire.
Wildfire gets the first points on the board.
Wildfire in the black jerseys, Phoenix in the white jerseys, and a couple kind of lighter colored long sleeves or hoodies. Easy enough to keep track of now that we've identified it. But back and forth points to start. We've already seen a couple looks from both teams. So far, Wildfire, the home team, unafraid.
Yes, and talking to their coaching staff, I asked, well, what's really been your mantra? What do you say to the team? And they said, you know, it's love and trust. And last year, they were the Cinderella story at Club Nationals. Local team, they made it into the quarterfinals, but they had so much fun. You could just see that culture, and so they've continued that here into this tournament. But now it's Phoenix time to get the disc to start the point. And I don't know, what do you think, coming from a coach's perspective, what adjustments do you make kind of now knowing what the wind situation is like?
Well, Coach's Corner. Well, first of all, this will be their first point going this particular direction, right? Crosswind is tricky. Sometimes it can feel like an upwind, downwind, right? Like where one end zone is a lot easier to score in than the other. A lot of defenses use a crosswind to figure out whether it's to their advantage to like pin a team on the low side and try to get discs to kind of dive, or whether it's to their advantage to force a team into the wind, let passes pop up and try to sky battle. So I think when you've got like Claire Revere on your team and Jenny Way, maybe you want them to go into that wind, but we're going to have to see what happens here.
So the turf from Phoenix now gives Wildfire the disc just outside the red zone. So this would be their first chance for a break, but we'll see if it matches the last point of the back and forth. Shot to the end zone and batted down by North Carolina.
We'll see here what kind of defensive set Wildfire is in and what they choose to force Raleigh to do. It looks like they are going to force them basically into the wind.
And disc manages to stay in bounds. You can see they're kind of trying to trap them a little bit in the corner, and that was successful just as a big gust came through. So it's maybe a little bit closer than the disc was the last Wildfire possession.
You know, one of the interesting things about a wind battle is, you know, caring more about field position and trying not to make it easy for the other team to have a short field opportunity. And right now I think the difference between Wildfire and Raleigh is that Wildfire is focusing on trying to eat up yards. They're taking a shot and then defending. They've kind of understood what's going to happen next and play defense. And Raleigh is trying to work it and be disciplined, and so far not working out for them.
And nearly hit Steve Dunn, the on-field PA announcer for USA Ultimate. The guy in the blue shirt, if you've been to one of USA Ultimate's spotlight events. And I mean, some of our equipment is even blowing around from our scaffolding to give you a sense of how strong it is. Some really nice angle, though, on the disc, and a little bit of discussion whether that was in. Observer calls out. It will tap it back in. Pachunas puts that up in the air, and a last second tip. Phoenix keeping it alive. It's one of those, the in, not in is so crucial because no pass is guaranteed in conditions like this.
It's also a little bit of a mental test, because anything can happen on that disc. If somebody gets a partial hit on that disc, it could stay in. It could make it go further. Like, you really have to continue play until the disc is all the way on the ground, especially because things happen, right?
And a hand block from the Huck right away. That was Raina Walks. And the bobble. The catches that you take for granted to make in, quote, normal conditions just can't happen here, but how about that? Just great. The mark positioning doesn't necessarily have to be close. That's part of that no big.
Certainly. Both teams going to get an opportunity here to kind of mentally reset. It did feel like the wind popped up kind of all of a sudden, right? They didn't have to warm up in this. So just, you know, to Phoenix's credit, they need a second. They need to talk through this, but Wildfire probably very pleased to have this opportunity to talk as well. Notable on that hand block, that huck, is that yeah, like we talked about field position a little bit. Claire Revere, obviously a very experienced player with a lot of high-level experience, probably noting that the little dink and dunk kind of style of play, the small ball, is not functioning very well, and trying to take a shot for her team and get them some field position. So smart defensive play to take that wide angle and try to, you know, essentially jump the route, so to speak, jump the throw and get in there and knock it down. Because that could have been even an uncompleted huck that direction would probably have played into a Phoenix advantage there.
So out of the timeout, Phoenix will pick up. Team listed out of Raleigh, but from all over the Triangle area. And like you said, just a good balance of experienced players, younger players from the college and YCC scene. And that's what I love about club, kind of seeing those come together. So on this near sideline, they are working the unders, or trying to, and go over the top.
Well read.
Oh, just the disc just dropped. But to your point, Aaron, it gives better field positioning for Phoenix, causes Wildfire to have to go the full 70.
And in a smart move, we see Phoenix lining up in a zone. So it looks like that was the play in that timeout huddle, was kind of a huck to D situation. And it turns out in their favor. They're going to get a smaller field here, going to our left. Probably the closest they've been to an end zone going this way. So
Jones will pick up. She centers to Powell. It's interesting, Phoenix not keeping a third handler back all the time. Leave a lot of open space, but Wildfire reading it so well, trying to gain yards in the fast break. Instead, they're going underneath, looking for that power position for the end zone. One-on-one, and can't hold on to it.
That was a nice shot. A lot of spin on that. It looks like a uncontested foul call down here. So we'll see how this resolves. I liked the little handler give-go kick out into power for that flick huck. Wildfire, you know, really interested in the deep game as a strategic element. So I think they are really looking to go deep.
So Pajunas does the quick toss to her teammate, Jasmine Childress. And that is a break for the San Diego team. They're up 2-0.
You know, we talked to both of these teams ahead of time, and if I remember correctly, Wildfire was hoping for wind. So they got what they asked for, and they're taking advantage. So we'll have to see how Phoenix responds. They certainly have the personnel to match it. They just got to get their wind legs under them, so to speak.
And it can be such a neutralizer as well, as we take a look at the uncontested foul call. And the little dinks, nothing to be taken for granted. And you can see from Childress's expression just how ecstatic and relieved she is. And breaks anytime are important, but especially early.
Absolutely. And in wind, there's this, I guess, I come from the Midwest. Wind is a part of our lives.
Texas, wind is definitely a part of our lives.
Awesome. So we call, when in situations like this, even if one end zone seems to be a little bit more of a struggle to score than the other one, we often refer to the double break. And that's essentially when you hold the way that you're supposed to hold on the like easy end zone, and then you are able to score in the difficult end zone, and then immediately you're able to go back to the easy end zone again. And it's one of those incredible things that is so hard to overcome, because you have to put together a string, and you can't let the other team like learn from how you got into the hard end zone, kind of.
And first throw incomplete, so another chance to break for Wildfire.
Tough start here.
And just a laser, but that puts the disc in a difficult spot in that corner, front corner, right outside the end zone. Phoenix working in their zone offense.
Nice find.
Find some spots. Lindsay Sue up the line. Lindsay, of course, from North Carolina, played Scandal last year, but came back to Phoenix. See, possession just so crucial.
Oh, we'll have a stoppage here for some contact, some facial contact.
And really, there's been a lot of contact from both teams coming in and out of that cup.
That's going to happen more throughout the game. As the wind changes the trajectory of a disc in flight and moves it around, like, there are going to be pileups all over the place. I would expect it. Wildfire sitting in a regular 3-3-1 zone, it looks like, but they have it slightly off kilter to adjust for the crosswind right now.
So a lot of crashes, lots of fakes from Phoenix.
That's a nice through pass right there.
Found a great opening. Now going over the top, and it's good. Carmen Tormey finds Jesse Jones. Meisner swings around, that's popping up. Sue is there to pick up the trash. Continues with the give and go. And Raleigh Phoenix gets on the board, their first point of the game.
Lindsay Sue taken over because her team needed her to there. Was really interested to see how they worked it through the zone, even close up to this end zone here. It felt a little bit risky and kind of like Callahan country for a little bit there, but they were able to do a really good job full swinging across it. And, you know, Coach's Corner, tell a lot of kids that making like a capital Z shape is one of the best things you can do against a zone, because it makes that defense move. And so once they got it to the nearest sideline to us, they went back to the middle, and that allowed Tormey to get wide open in a space that was hittable, right? But then they ended up scoring on that far corner again. They completed the capital Z.
So our wind vanes say it's up to 11 miles an hour, which is not really that bad. I would venture to say that the gusts are in the 20s at least, peaking at 19 miles an hour. And a cool 94 Fahrenheit.
I was promised 74 degrees.
You know, I was talking with a friend who lives in Southern California, and they said that this weather is hotter now in late October than it is in the summer, in the peak of summer. That is how uncharacteristically warm it is this time of year.
It'll be fine. I think, I mean, certainly Wildfire is used to this. They live here. They have, you know, there's a certain amount of advantage you get from being the home team, not having to switch time zones, and a number of other things. But it should be interesting to see if they can do this kind of the same thing they did last year and ride that to semis.
Ellie Mellick with the disc in the middle of the field brings that over to Walter. Now on the near sideline to Grimshaw. Just kind of working it up the force side, gets a nice break around, and then continuing. Wildfire really changing the point of attack on the field. Now moving into their end zone format. There's Way with a hand. Disc goes back to Phoenix.
There are some all-stars on this field. I'm so excited to watch.
But out of reach for the receiver. Goes back to the dark jerseys.
As the game continues, both of these teams will settle more into this wind, I'm sure. So just a little bit maybe less clean at the beginning of this game as they adjust, but a lot of really talented throwers on this team, so I doubt it will last very long.
And a lot of really nice angle on that disc, and that's up. Reed with the grab.
That's a really good read and a good aggressive catch.
That now Phoenix hoping for another handler back over the top. That high release backhand was all that was there.
Was it? You know, I value how important having like a versatile throw kit is in the game right now. I truly do. But in wind conditions, sometimes you got to go back to the basics. Anytime you have a high release throw in the wind, there's just too many factors and there are too many like layers of wind to account for. So I would have preferred a low release shot at the far cone, to be honest.
And a nice block from Phoenix. Chesky will register that in the stat column. Riedel will pick up near sideline. Slices through, and Say just can't quite make the connection. Wildfire at about midfield, really looking for that traditional dump and swing. Floating, but works and continues, and that's a goal for Wildfire.
Certainly making it look less windy than it is, I think. Good movement there, good patience. Really important in these conditions to put a lot of spin on the disc. So if you are going to venture into overhead throw territory, like the high release that we just saw from Wildfire, you got to put a lot of spin on it so it gets there. Glad we were able to see the replay on that read layout near us. That was a really excellent read, actually, and body position and layout there. Nice catch for her.
So Wildfire up by 2 in the first half. They did get a break. I have had some friends who don't play the sport but follow along on just, you know, they're my Facebook friends, and they said, Emmy, I don't understand what a break is. What does this mean? Why do you keep talking about this? Why is this important? What does that mean, Erin?
Well, we live in a sport where one group of 7 people are given possession of the Frisbee. And if they do everything right, then they retain it and they get it all the way down. For a defense to take possession and convert to a score is like fundamentally not what we have set up to occur, right? So good teams are able to use breaks. So in a perfect game, if everybody's offensive score every time, right, you would need to win the flip and be on offense every time in order to win the game, and the game would always win by like 1 point at the end, right? So if you want to change your fate, you have to get a break, and it's really good for momentum and some other things, but yeah, breaks are important. They win games most of the time. So.
It's kind of like in football, if the defense gets an interception and runs it in for the touchdown, that's less work that the offense needed to do, and you go off of that possession back and forth. Speaking of possession, that just changed, going back to Wildfire.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of possession changes this game, and it's going to be really exciting. And the wind is going to be basically a player on the field at any given time and do things like that, gain yardage for one of the teams just by rolling the disc away.
Sometimes called the 8th defender. So Jones will pick up, it floats, and that's a goal for Phoenix.
So starting to feel like the end zone to our right might be a tad easier to score in, which means that Wildfire, having scored in the what we assume is the difficult end zone already, currently has not only that extra break, but it's in the hard end zone. So if that's something that they can defend, if they can decide that they're the only team allowed to score in that end zone, they should be able to hold an advantage, even if everything else goes to chalk for the rest of the game.
So really nice continuation from Phoenix. They're a team with a storied history. Lots of very successful players have come out of the Triangle on the whole, but also on this Phoenix team. They had a very successful regionals as well, knocking off Ozone. Ozone had a bid. They're also here at Nationals, but how does that help a team's momentum really coming into Nationals?
Well, it definitely gives you a lot of confidence going in, but I think Phoenix was the team that told us that they really think that performance at Nationals is reflective of which teams work the hardest to continue to improve after regionals. I think if you outright win the regional, it can be tempting to kind of coast, right? Like let your players heal themselves or like take a mental break and maybe just like sustain and persist. But Phoenix really took it upon themselves to keep working hard, to keep pushing themselves, and they feel like they have, gotten even better in the last few weeks between regionals and nationals, and they are kind of itching to show us all about that.
So Ellie Mellick with the disc.
She took part of that to her mouth. Stinger.
Phoenix working out of the vert stack. Launches one. Not in, right outside the end zone. Alexa Cohen. Actually, now that's Emma Frankel with the disc. Continues, and that's a goal.
That was nicely played by Wildfire as well. So now we've recognized that this is maybe the easier way to throw, easier directionally. That backhand was a beautiful throw. That's the other hard part about wind is even though it's the easy end zone, sometimes the disc carries or goes too far into that end zone or even dies if it's in the air too long. So really nice angle on that disc, good height, right? She didn't try to float it out too high where the wind would have caught it, flipped it over, really good even level. And yeah, just a really good finish there on that high sideline. Most of the action has been closer to us because the wind is pushing this way. So that was effectively, even though it was the easy end zone, an upwind score on that upwind high side. So what that is, and maybe an indication of, is that Wildfire is finding a groove and is finding their confidence in these wind conditions.
And if you look on USA Ultimate, it'll say San Diego Wildfire. So that's technically where they're from, but they have players from all over the place. Santa Barbara, Orange County. Southern California is big, but not that far. But it can be farther depending on traffic. But that's what's nice, is that they've really been able to pull in the best talent for the most part, just outside of LA by and large.
Well, I know in the last round you got to kind of walk around and check in with the other division. We have sent Tony out to kind of collect some information about the women's division and how other teams are handling this wind. So we do hope to check in with him eventually. But, as we mentioned before, all these games are important, and now that the wind is upon us, even more so.
So tight person defense from Wildfire. Phoenix with the 3 handlers back, gains a sizable amount of yards going upfield, shoots to the end zone, intercepted. Childress.
Foul call on the throw, it looks like.
So some discussion. Another question I got from this non-ultimate playing friend was, well, I thought you said this wasn't officiated, but it looks like there are officials out there to me.
Yeah, I like to think of observers as kind of like customizable almost, right? Like they are actively going to make in and out calls, right? And they are available to ask questions. Nice.
Look at that. Leaving her feet, layout block from Raina Walks.
But yeah, if you would rather interact with the other team as respected opponents, you have control over your own destiny, right? You can defer if you need help, but if you want to just keep it between 2 players on the field, a lot of teams prefer that. Nice bid again.
A nice layout from Walks, but a foul called, contested foul at the throw. So Jasmine Childress will put it in, check it back in.
Really pleased so far to see the level of communication between the 2 teams regarding calls. In the win in particular, it's hard because voices carry, right? So to be able to rely on the physical hand signals is really good. So props to them for knowing that.
Oh, through the float. So many players from both teams underneath the disc. But Cabriales manages to find it and come down.
I love this.
What a
First
read.
of all, great D. This was a great D. Really well read. Like seeing that. But on this end zone shot here, I appreciate so many things about this. I appreciate that the backhand had the right angle on it. I also appreciate when a disc hangs like that, it's tempting for everybody to try to go up and catch that disc at the highest point, and it takes a lot of discipline to allow a teammate to kind of go up for you and then wait around for the MAC or the float or what have you. But really interesting game so far, Emmy.
Yes, and a lot of other interesting games happening around the division. Tony Leonardo is out in the field. What you got for us, Tony?
Hey everybody, I'm over here with Molly Brown and Siege. Siege just collects a goal to be down 3-5 to Molly Brown. Behind me over here is Brute Squad and Schwa. Brute Squad currently up 5-3. And just an update from earlier in the rounds, there was a big upset. Men's division down, Machine goes down to Chain Lightning. That's the bottom of the pool versus the 2 seed in the pool. That's an upset. We'll look forward to that later on. And Double Wide on game point takes out Ring of Fire. So those are your updates from now. Brute Squad and Molly Brown holding right here at 5-3.
Thanks, Tony.
Back to you guys.
So much excitement happening all around. Saw a lot of very close games in the mixed division as well. And Wildfire going up early. They're currently up by 3 over Phoenix from Raleigh.
We had a 3-point spread in the last game too. It wasn't quite as windy and there weren't as many factors maybe, but you know, good teams and cooler heads prevail, and I think momentum should be a factor here. Hoping we see Phoenix go on a run here as soon as they're able to hit this difficult end zone over to our left.
Really nice opening. Phoenix showing the fakes that they're able to make to create those openings from the mark. Foul called at the disc. Looked like Phoenix was transitioning out of the zone look into the person match defense.
I would have thrown that huck, that flick huck, I think.
That was beautiful power position.
It was. It's also the high side over there, so there's more forgiveness over there. The disc is going to come back over towards me and Emmy. It's going to have a lot of hang time.
And Lindsay Sue shoots it to her teammate, to Stanland, but...
Some stuff.
Yes. It's one of those ellipses, ... conversations. We think it was a pick, and we now have a handshake and the goal.
There you go. Well, I know Tony was able to give us a little bit of an update about some upsets in the men's division. There were 2 upsets in mixed in the last round. Super Lame beat Slow White 13-12.
Yep.
Shame beat Wildcard 15-13.
Not great for Boston.
And then obviously the Snake Country AMP game that Tony and I covered, which was also an upset, 14-12. And then Dragon Thrust held out against a charging Public Enemy team and was able to close it out 15-14. Just a lot of good ultimate happening all over the place.
So good. That is what is so fun about club nationals is we see how teams played up until this point, but this is amateur club play. So teams' records throughout the season don't really tell the full story of who these teams are. Everybody has day jobs. Somebody last year couldn't go to a tournament because he and his wife had a baby, and on shame, and that affected
sounds like
bids.
A good reason. I feel like that's
right.
a good reason.
I think you should stay home for the birth of your child if that's what you want to do. But that means when you get to this tournament, all bets are off. Oh, you're this seed, you're that seed. We played each other this, and then it matters, but it doesn't really matter.
And that's why I think so many teams, there's some hype around completing the Triple Crown Tour and winning U.S. Open and Pro Flight and Nationals. But a lot of teams are kind of more interested in their own process, and like if they happen to win those tournaments, great. But really the one that matters is this one, the culminating effort at the end. So interesting to see how different teams treat those mid-season tournaments to get to here.
So Phoenix in the zone cup look, pushing it towards our cameras. Really nice swing. Now in the middle of the field, shredding through. Wildfire looking to keep Phoenix on their heels now at midfield.
Iwamoto and Lang doing work in this backfield for Wildfire. Really happy to see their confidence with the disc.
And knocking on the doorstep. One more continuation and finding that space. Wildfire slices through to get the goal.
I think that was Walter with the assist. Didn't quite catch the number of the receiver there. Again, Wildfire now has scored in this quote-unquote difficult end zone 3 times, which means that maybe I need to accept the reality that it might not be the difficult end zone.
They're both difficult, right? Or they're just mastering the difficulty.
They each
they're
have their own unique challenges.
Exactly. So Wildfire, though, up 6-3, making those conversions. It's interesting, too, talking with the coaching staff. I asked, this is a local tournament for you. Do you stay at home and show up? Said, no, we did rent an Airbnb, a big house together. The team is staying together. We're treating this as an out-of-town tournament. Some players need to go home and sleep at their house for that night, but they're expected to come be at the Airbnb, all except for sleeping time, to keep that camaraderie and making sure that they know that this is important. This is like we're going to another tournament.
That's cool. I like that. Well, the Wildfire team certainly showing us that, they're unbothered in these conditions and really made quick work of that Phoenix zone. And now we'll see if Wildfire is going to throw some other format of defense. It looks like they are setting up with a deep back here, so we might get to see a zone look from them here as well.
I love seeing all of the different zone looks. So they have a lot of one-on-one matchups. Poach in the middle.
This is really difficult. The Phoenix offense set up in a host stack, which is correct if you want to be prepared for zone. Wow, this backhand rip
really nice backhand. Nice flat throw to continue. Great hustle from Phoenix as they slice through the zone, get the goal.
They didn't maybe necessarily slice through it, they went around it.
They still made it work.
They made it work. This backhand hook on this sideline is a really difficult throw, right? The wind is coming straight at you. The spin on the backhand is not helpful. For that to push out, right? We've had another disc get stuck on one of these shade tents over here. It's easy to expect that to push out of bounds. It arced back into bounds. That's a quality throw right there.
And then the hustle from Phoenix as they're moving it across to the other side of the field. They had plenty of receivers and teammates while Wildfire was kind of trying to catch their bearings after that.
You got to believe. You got to believe that that hook gets caught. You got to put yourself in a position. It can be hard sometimes to do that when a big throw goes up and be like, oh no, this is going out of bounds. But if you put yourself in the right position, even if you're faking it, as if 100% you believe that that's going to get caught, then you see what we had here, which is an overload, an overload. You had many white jerseys and only a few dark jerseys, and that's an advantage, and you take advantage of it. If you would like to interact with me and Emmy on Twitter, I know they're going to flash our handles eventually. We are battening down the hatches up here and trying to make sure nothing flies away, but we will check our phones intermittently if you'd like to talk to us about anything that's going on the field.
If you make comments too on YouTube or the USAU Facebook, some of those they'll get to us, but we cannot answer those in real time, whether they're nice or not nice, but we will see them later. So you're not totally anonymous. Remember that. Wildfire in the middle of the field. Nice yardage gain underneath to Ellie Mellick. Continuing on that far side. Shoots up line. One-handed grab is good. Hannah Walter, another score.
Well, I was expecting this, right? This has cleaned up significantly in the last few points. A lot of win condition is just getting used to it and breathing through it and having confidence and not allowing it to make you change any of your mechanics. And once you can kind of settle into that and understand what direction it's actually coming, especially those throws over there, those flicks over there should be the easiest throw on the field right now, right? So we see some of the better throwers on both teams noticing that and going out of their way to call for it out there. A concerted effort by both teams to travel that whole lateral distance and then, gaining those scores from that high side. Everything should be easier over there. That's why I'm still in awe of that backhand on the low side, because it's so much more difficult over here, and she made it work anyway.
With the angle of the disc was just beautiful.
Still appreciating that Jenny Way matchup against Dina Ellie Mellick.
Oh, I love it.
So far, Ellie Mellick gaining a lot of under yards. In the wind, I think I would be interested to see Jenny Way try to take away the under and see. I think they both got wheels, and I mean, maybe I just want the exciting parallel layout in the end zone, but I won't be greedy. I'd like to see if that defensive tactic, right? Because Jenny's so smart on defense. She'd be able to maybe yield a couple Ds for her team on that matchup, which would be super impressive and good for the team.
Her positioning is so good. Ellie Mellick, very talented. We were commenting her phenomenal layout from college nationals is actually in the Discraft ad on the back of our program guides. It was very sick. You can find it on social. Ultiworld was right there for it. Ulti Photos, was right there for it. But back in action, Phoenix working it in the zone. 3 handlers back. Foul called.
This Wildfire zone no longer looks to me like a pure 3-3-1. We have number 6 down here, Rachel Ling, who seems to be really close to the handler set, almost like a individual markup on this player. The rest of the team clearly in what the remnants of a 3-3-1 would look like, but not quite sure if it's a pure 3-3-1 right now.
Revere, great fakes. If you had a list of things I'm liking from Phoenix, the fakes would be very high up on that list.
Nice bid there from Emma Peasley. I was her high school coach.
So awesome to see youth players doing well in the club scene.
Yeah, I just get to be proud coach over here and chill out. I'm surprised to see her in the cutting set and not in the handler set. She was a handler in high school and college, so she's very good in the wind though.
Revere with the disc. Looks to Sue. Sue just moving her mark so much. Makes a toss to space, and the strike is good. That's a goal for Phoenix.
Well, it looks like Phoenix has their legs under them in terms of offensive rhythm. Now they need a couple Ds, right? We're coming up here on halftime. Wildfire went on that run early in the game to put Phoenix in that hole. Really hoping to see Phoenix being able to get a break or two back here and make it the tight game that we knew it could be.
So Phoenix still up by 2. Half is at 8. And it is just super exciting on really both sides of the disc. Looking ahead.
Emmy, are you drinking water?
I am drinking water. I'm also kind of looking for these fun facts. There are 10 UC San Diego alumni who are player coaches. They also have current players and alum from UCLA, UCSB, UC Irvine. Kristen has U24 gold medal mixed team from 2015-28. Just a lot of history for a team that was founded, they call it a rebrand in 2014.
We have a lot of fun facts about these two teams. Maybe an interesting trivia question for the folks at home would be, on one of these teams, there is an oldest player and a youngest player. And I would be curious to hear from folks at home what you think the age difference is between those two players. I was surprised to see that, but feel free to tweet at us and let us know what you think the age difference is between the oldest player and the youngest player on one of these teams.
Ellie Mellick, 2 hands to keep the disc up, swings around. One-handed snag. Reyes gets that over to Iwamoto. And another backhand rip! But the hand block, not really hand block, but the block in the air from Murphy gets the disc back over to Phoenix. Just a great read on defense. Immediate strike, gets the disc in the middle of the field, now over to the far side. And a foot block! The right angle for Alex Diaz. Now Wildfire hoping to take half if they can score here, and they will. Shelly Mae Reyes gets the goal. And Wildfire, currently the seeded lower, takes half by 3. We will do a halftime interview. Erin, talk to us a little bit of game summary of what we've had so far.
Well, sure. People at home following along have clearly noticed that the wind has been a factor. But it was more so a factor in those initial few points where Phoenix really struggled, but Wildfire didn't take quite as long to adjust. So Wildfire had that early run and lead. They were up by 3 right away at 5-2, and have kind of sustained their performance over the rest of the game, making short work of Phoenix's zone and doing a lot of good work to gain yardage and then play in a short field. We're seeing Phoenix adjust closer to the end of the half and find their footing and their confidence, which is super important in wind. But right now we're in an 8-5 deficit for Phoenix, and we need to see from them an ability to generate a D and try to get a break back. So I really, I'll take this moment to shout out Emmy and Tony. I am in an ankle walking boot, and I cannot clamber down the scaffolding very quickly, and so both Tony and Emmy are doing a lot of the work to hustle down to the field for these halftime interviews. So shout out to them for accommodating me and my injury. I really appreciate it. Emmy has been wrangling a Wildfire player and is pretty much ready to do an interview here. So we're going to throw it down to Emmy. Emmy, you have a member of the Wildfire team. Are you ready to give us a halftime scoop?
Yes. So at the half, as you know, Wildfire is leading Phoenix 8-5, and with me now is Angela Wells, one of the coaches. And Angela, first, you have a great teal theme going on here. How is that kind of helping bring the love and the trust to the team?
Oh, love and trust is our motto. So love and trust is our motto. I'm so excited to be out here. We're really showing it out on the field. It's really helpful that our defense has 2 breaks and our offense has not been broken. That's what we love to come out here and see. The first point was a little bit messy. I think those nationals nerves for everyone on both teams. We're just sort of, it's scary. It's a little bit windy. It's a little swirly. So I think there was a little bit nervous. I'm glad we were able to turn it down a little bit, calm down, play with a lot of love and trust, use everyone on our team, which is something that we have set as a goal for every game. We want to go really deep on our roster. We have such a talented group of athletes, so I'm stoked to be out here. It's a great way to start the day.
Amazing. And you all told us you were actually kind of hoping for some wind in the game today. How do you think it's played to your advantage?
I'm actually glad that I told you that, because I thought, no, there's not going to be any wind, and then Santa Ana's picked up this week, and I was like, well, maybe there will be. I think that it's really worked for us. We know how athletic Phoenix is, and we knew we would be struggling to keep up with them if there wasn't any wind. So our defenses, we have so many different defensive sets, and I'm really proud of the girls for running them really well, which is a little bit confusing. And when there's a little bit of wind, that adds to that confusion and that like kind of discomfort when Phoenix is on offense. That's what we're going for. And our offensive players are so calm and cool with the disc. They can throw anything in this wind. I'm so glad they're better throwers than I am. So it's been fun.
So you've seen Phoenix before. This is kind of a rematch of a rematch. You told us if we play 2 halves against them, we'll do well. How do you play 2 halves against this team?
Yeah, it'll be tough. So we're coming out on defense. So obviously I'd love to get a break coming out of the half. Really make sure that we keep the momentum going. I'm sure Phoenix is getting together now and talking about what they can do differently and what adjustments that they can make in the second half. They're in a hole, which is great that they have to come in, kind of dig out of that. We just have to stay mentally tough and continue rolling and not kind of let up. And yeah, I want the team to celebrate. I hope they're celebrating right now, but I want them to make sure that we keep the momentum going. We stay really, really, really tight in everyone's shorts, and they think that's that match defense that is really tight with a little bit of wind makes it really uncomfortable when players are trying to catch the disc.
Great. Well, good luck in the second half. Angela Wells with San Diego Wildfire, and they are leading Phoenix at the half. Thank you.
Thanks, Emmy, for that interview and insight into the Wildfire huddle. We're going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek about what's coming next throughout your day, a little bit more information so you can plan your lunch or your afternoon coffee break or what have you. Appreciate you tuning in for this live stream coverage of USA Ultimate Nationals 2019. I'm Erin Morocco. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll see you back here shortly after half.
Welcome back at the half. San Diego Wildfire is up over Raleigh Phoenix 8-5. Emmy Fitzgerald and Aaron Maraca. And Aaron, how do you think both teams have adjusted well to this wind as the half progressed?
From a throwing standpoint, I think we've kind of seen the transition between more of those like kind of fancy throws into more of the like concerted, I'm going to step out, I'm going to get low, I'm going to throw at like a even level, take the bounce out of my throw. So everybody's kind of tightened up their throwing form. Wildfire kind of came out of the gate with that let's stretch it deep and try to get yards and then play defense if we have to mentality, which was great. I think Phoenix took a while, right, to make that adjustment, and that accounts for the hole that they're in right now. It is really hard. You know, everyone here is very talented, and it is sometimes really hard to make the mindset shift to be like, how big of a factor is the wind? Should we really work it? Should we not? So.
And sometimes it's a matter of, well, just be a little more disciplined on your throws, too. Let's not change up our whole game plan. But Phoenix is starting on offense to start the second half. Wildfire in a defensive look we saw a little bit in the first half.
Also looks to me like bringing Elimelech over to the D-line may be an indication that they're stacking this line. I know Coach said they really wanted this break right away out of half.
So it looks like a stall is called on the field and a contested stall. So that will come in on 8. Remember, if you have 10 seconds to throw it, miscue in the backfield. It was unfortunate.
Wildfire will only have to go about 5 yards to seek this break.
So immediate swing, now the give and go, really looking to strike that far side. Slicing through over the top, third time's the charm. Elimelech's there to get the break to start the second half.
Well, definitely not the intended receiver, but
or the next one.
Yes. But a nice little safety net to have back there in a Dina Elimelech. Yeah, interesting. Interesting immediate little nerves coming out of half again from Phoenix, and a reticence to just take a shot. I hope that they had a good amount of time during half to throw in this wind and get that confidence up. But right now, momentum's all with Wildfire, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Someone told me Angela talked about the Santa Ana winds, how they're blowing today, and the direction of the Santa Ana winds, do you know what that creates? Wildfires. Oh. Literally.
That's very, like, on point.
That is what we're seeing so far today to start nationals for this Wildfire team.
Interesting.
Could not be more apt. So they are now up by 4. It's still possible, though, for Phoenix to make a run and come back. What do they need to do right now to get their hold very quickly?
I want them to be more aggressive. I want them to try to huck over this Wildfire zone. I want them to like take a little bit more. Sometimes I feel like when you try to slow down the pace of game, it introduces more variables. You get more nervous. Every pass matters so much more. But like to be aggressive and to take shots, even if they don't work out, it gets everybody moving, right? They don't act as stagnant. It like gets everybody a little bit revved up. It gets your sideline a little bit more involved because they've got to be down there to do up calls, and they can't just stand in the middle of your handler set watching, right? So I would love to see them be just more aggressive and maybe set up some sort of play that pushes the pace and gets a huck off to space.
So the initiation play got a good 20 yards for Phoenix right away. Now swinging to the far side of the field. Sue, very active, is that primary cutter underneath. Of course, her parents, legendary players in the North Carolina Ultimate scene. That's what I love. I have other players in the DFW area where their parents went to Worlds and now their kids are, you know, playing on Showdown and all these other cool teams. High release backhand is good. Phoenix with the diving catch to keep it up. Jones will dish it to Meisner, and the strike, one-handed grab. Kay Backus comes out of nowhere, but it did not complete.
Oh, it didn't?
It was out of bounds.
Oh, it looked like it was in her hand, so yeah.
It was so sick, but it was out. Don't you hate that?
I hate that.
It's such a great grab, and not in.
A lot of really good things, though, on offense there for Phoenix. So appreciate that they're making some change and isolating Sue.
So over the top, gets Wildfire to midfield kind of right away. And slingshot! Sue tips it. Thought maybe the trash would get collected there, but that disc goes out of bounds. Disc goes back to Phoenix.
I like that look. That's a fun look. Great defense there by Sue. I appreciate, too, that she took the several hard steps after she had macked it just to make sure that it was out of bounds and unreachable, because anything can happen.
They say catch your Ds, but sometimes all you can do is hit it. And if that's what you can do, that's what you can do.
In the last game, I did try to incite the internet with the challenge that perhaps there were some opportunities on a layout D where it was not to your advantage to catch it.
Oh.
Because we had a moment where there was a long discussion about whether the tie went to the offense or not. And unfortunately, it retained with the offense. So
okay.
I think it's situational. I think we oversimplify that situation a lot. There are definitely situations where you should absolutely not catch your Ds. But I think you as a player inherently need to understand those and choose wisely.
So we'll take another look at the contested call in question. And I think they're saying there was a little bit of push off from Sue. The observer overruled it. She'll keep it there. Sue, the coach of UNC Pleiades. She's actually been in our commentary booth as well. Very, very insightful analyst. And another backhand. It's floating. Thought maybe Stanland would get there, but not quite enough. So Wildfire get it back. A big shot, but Aaron, to your point, those big shots, it's not complete, but it's longer distance that Phoenix will need to go. Plus the roll gains yards underneath right away. And off the hands, bounces. Disc back at midfield. They'll pick up, slinging right away in the air. Now intercepted. Phoenix back off to the races. Goes out of bounds.
Oh, the temptation to go too fast.
Quick, quick, she's so open.
It changes your entire throwing form. It puts less spin on the disc, right? So we saw the one hop over here and the one tail over here. Disc just wants to do what your body wants to do, and the wind will punish you if you do one little thing off.
So handler dish in the backfield.
Another call here. It's like maybe a contact or a foul call, because we are stopping. So
checked back in. Nice bid on the mark, but that is launched. Some nice angle to Juliana Jordan, but can't get there. Cabrialis was the thrower.
That was an agreement between two players that shot was going to happen. So I appreciate that, because it indicates that Wildfire is like at home in this environment and doing what they would normally do, which is an aggressive huck game.
So Jones is it big and just kind of go. There were 4 people in a cluster, and the disc just kind of went through everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone touched it.
I don't think they did, and thankfully nobody collided with each other either. So turning into
Looks like we might be calling a timeout here.
So let's call a timeout and check in with Tony to see what else is happening in the division. Tony?
Hey everybody, I'm over here in Pool A following along with the 8 seed Traffic from Vancouver. They're up right now on Atlanta. Ozone 11-5, so big place from Marcella from Traffic and also Aaron Schrader from Ozone. And behind me also over here is Fury and Nemesis Fury, the number 1 seed. They're up right now 10-4. I asked Coach Manis saying, what's the key to playing in the wind? He said, we're not doing it right now. When we do, I'll tell you. So we'll check in back for that later on and find out what the key is to playing in the wind. But right now, the seeds are holding here in Pool A.
Thanks, Tony. So things are going to plan. That's interesting. Fury, number 1 seed. They're up by a lot. What's the key to playing in the wind? I don't know. We're not doing it. Talk about always trying to be better and brutal honesty as well. Thanks for that insight, Tony.
You know, wind has this mysterious way of like illuminating flaws, right? Teams that usually rely on like only one style of attack, if wind shuts that down, no matter what it is, right? It kind of exposes your weakness. I think one of the reasons that Fury and Riot maybe don't struggle in the wind is because they have multiple they can diversify their attack.
Seriously.
If the Huck game isn't working, it's not that big of a deal because they can attack break side. If the break side attack isn't working that well, they can do a handler weave, right? Like they've got so many things in their pocket that they can do that if the wind affects one, they've got backup plans.
So Lindsay Sue got the interception for Phoenix, but the continuation pass was incomplete. So disc will go back to Wildfire. Inside backhand. Tight handler defense from Phoenix. Wildfire shoots for the end zone. And that layout score is good. Angela Dong goes to the ground for it, and they get the break.
I hate to say it, but coffin meet nail, right? That's momentum. That's a team in their groove. That's the like energy game. That's a incredible buffer, right? And control. That's time consideration. If Phoenix wants to make a run here, they're running out of time and they've got to do something quick, but they also have to be efficient, right? They really have to start understanding that Wildfire is going to try to slow the game down. They're probably going to keep coming in zone and make them complete 50 passes, which takes eons, right? So if Phoenix can't come up with a plan to be more efficient and score a couple back-to-back points or get that double break back in like the next, I don't know.
Like right now?
Yeah, like right now. Then, you know, hate to see it, but that's where we are. And kudos to Wildfire. They're playing the complete game that they talked about, right? And players are making plays, throwers are making throws. You know, there's a foot block that was,
you
know,
right. The amazing
foot block. They're doing a great job. They're doing everything that they set out to do. And, you know, the coach that you interviewed, whose name is escaping me right now, Angela, you know, said it best. It's at this point, it's mental toughness. Do you let the wind come in and ruin your fun, or do you embrace it and make it part of your brand and tell everyone that those are the Santa Ana Winds and they just made a Wildfire and like get your team hype? So hopefully, I mean, they're big names on this rally team. They should be able to put something together.
Such big names. So many big names though on both sides. Sue picks up for Phoenix. We're saying her name a lot. She's had a great game today. Puts that up in the air. It's still floating. Childress goes to the ground just in case.
I like that effort. And her team's going to get even hyper.
Exactly. That's exactly the point that you were just making, Aaron. Wildfire registering another break. Up 11-5.
We were not expecting that, were we?
No. Both games that these teams have faced each other have been fairly close. I will say, though, the first time these two teams met up, the Wildfire college players, by and large, were not there.
Ah.
The second time they met up, they were there.
Clever.
Third time they met up, they are also there. What kind of difference do you think national championship UCSD players are really making for this game?
You know, in the simplest and most boringest of terms, it's reps. But it's reps in the right circumstances, right? They won a championship. They did the thing. They came back from deficits. They worked harder than anybody else did. They threw their bodies on the ground over and over and over again, and they survived and they learned the lesson, right? A lot of young college players don't get to learn how determined you need to be and how little you can allow things to affect you, right? So I think just it's lame to say it, but I think that's really it for those young players. They have the reps in the right circumstances, that this doesn't feel unusual, right? Playing high level in weird conditions doesn't feel unusual. It just feels like another Thursday afternoon.
Just another old Thursday, that's all.
Right. Well, I mean, we were talking in the last game, Anna Thompson came up with a ridiculous layout D, and I was like, unfortunately, that's just normal. That's just Anna Thompson doing Anna Thompson things. And that's, God, the caliber of players that are out there is so impressive, and I'm really happy to be here, Emmy. This is fun. I love it.
Me too. I hope the joy that we're experiencing of watching good Ultimate comes through, because it's just so fun, and we're extremely fortunate to be able to bring this to you on the live stream. Phoenix hoping to get a few more points on probably more than a few on the board. They had a cutter going deep. They swing it instead. She's open on the far side and overthrows. That's what you were talking about. Take those riskier shots. What do you have to lose, really, if you shoot that deep shot right there?
Absolutely. Well, and then the turnover in the end zone, it doesn't hurt you at all.
Exactly.
But a turnover in a swing in the handler set where you put the disc onto that high side sets you up for this. Oh,
no.
I'm so sorry.
Commentator's curse strikes again.
I've done it twice. I'm the worst. I'm gonna let Emmy take it. I'll be right here in the corner.
Phoenix fans, thank you for that, Erin. They do.
Oh, I do want them to hug. There's so much space back there.
Slicing and goes to the ground. Wildfire will get it back. Angela Dong gets that over to Cabriales. Really, really tight coverage from Phoenix. A switch on the mark. Nice grab in the air from Brown. And just batted down. That's the risk of in tight spaces. You have Ledley going deep, trying to spread the field. Underneath to Murphy. Continuing, now there's nobody deep.
What's interesting, too, is Wildfire, I think, you can correct me, but I'm pretty sure Wildfire told us that they wanted to force Phoenix to throw deep.
Yeah, you're right.
And, I feel like that's the right strategic decision for Phoenix right now, but maybe they recognize that that's what Wildfire wants them to do, and it's playing a little bit of havoc in the, should we or shouldn't we kind of mentality. But what you've been doing all game hasn't really yielded the result you're looking for, so may as well change it up.
So a violation is called on the field. A little bit of conversation, but it looks like Jackie Wang will keep it. Ledley immediately going deep. Wang looking for the handler dump. Meisner with the disc. Nice high point grab from Jones. Need to get it off the sideline. Lefty backhand that overshot too much. So disc will go back to Wildfire.
Stoppage. None of these have been contested. They've all kind of moved along and come back to 0, which is interesting.
Ooh, big shot over the top is completed. Ooh, and I don't know. I think you could have called a foul there. There was some contact, but, you know, I'm not involved in the play. So Phoenix will pick up. Gets over to Meisner. Wang, beautiful throw, and nice grab. Judy Ledley was cutting deep so much in that point. Finally gets rewarded for her hard work.
Oh, for real. I have wanted this deep shot to go off for like 5 minutes, and I've made a lot of arm gestures to that effect. Oh, you can see me. Sorry.
There it is.
Finally.
Judy's like, I'm doing it. I am doing it.
I mean, I know they can't hear me, but anyway. So I think now would be a good time to settle the trivia question.
Oh, yes.
We did have one guess on Twitter. That I should have lied and said that many people guessed, shouldn't I?
Out of the myriad of responses we received on Twitter,
we have a lot of
engagement. Was one that stood out from the crowd.
So we do have a guess of 18 years.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
Do you have others on your phone?
The 18 years is also what I have on my phone. I do have another question, which we'll get to in a second.
Okay, well, so that's very close. However, the answer is 20 years. So on this Raleigh Phoenix team, you've got Ginny Rydell, who was playing in the College National Championship tournament before number 11, Dawn Colton, was born. So truly, you know, a very vast array of ages on the team.
I love it.
But kind of a cool like bragging point to be able to be like, I was playing in the College National Championship before you were born. And it's not an overstatement. It's
literally
the honest to God truth.
All right, Phoenix back on offense. Out of the vert stack. Does a little bit of handler movement. Big gain underneath. And just soars overhead. That will not stay in bounds.
This is a good opportunity here for Phoenix. Wildfire hasn't made any short field mistakes recently, or maybe I'm just selectively forgetting, but this is a good opportunity for, Reed, she's her own namesake. She's incredible.
She really is. Gets it over to Wei, and that's another goal for Phoenix.
That's a break.
Get the break when they need it.
Well, we have 24 minutes left, right? If 4 minutes to soft cap, so that'll change what we're aiming at, right? But, you know, if you're Phoenix, you got to play hurry up right now. There's no time to, I mean, yes, go congratulate your team, do some high fives, but put out a line of 7, indicate readiness, let's go. If you want to try to make your move, like, now, do it now. If they can complete this in a pretty efficient manner and then go back, then maybe we've got something to play with, but I don't know. Maybe they're trying to kind of pay it forward and think about the next round and make sure that their confidence levels and their style of play in the win serves them better in the next round. That would be a legit coaching decision too, I guess.
It would be. I think it's hard though, and I'm curious to hear your coach's corner thought on this. Is yes, they have a really long tournament ahead, but from a mental game standpoint, even if as a coach you're like, okay, we know we're not going to win, and I'm not saying this is what they think, we know we're not going to win this, but let's make sure you don't communicate to your team, though.
Oh, no, you lie to them, Emmy.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. That's where I was getting at.
No, you
coaches versus player mindset.
Right. You spin it, right? You invest in you make it about yourselves, right? You focus on the things you can control. You narrow down the window of thought patterns. You tell them it's a 0-0 game to 1 scenario, or however you frame it in your culture for your team. You don't look at your whole huddle and say,
gonna happen.
You know, this is about the next game now. But like, every point that you play, you should be proud of at the end of. And so if you invest in that and you feel good about how you played for the rest of the game, that's certainly worth doing. I don't know, it's different in like youth league, I think. Adults can usually handle a little bit more truth in that manner. So maybe you tell your leadership core or some key players, right? Like, hey, I'm going to open up the lines a little bit, get people the nationals experience that we need to do better in the rest of these rounds. So just, that's what we're doing, right? But
it looks like still very aggressive defense from the Raleigh squad as it goes over the top to Ellie Mellick. She eats that for breakfast. That.
And then she comes back later and does it for
and
lunch.
Just grabs seconds and thirds. You see her make that cut, you gotta put it up. And that is exactly what her teammate does.
Yes, agree. It's a great, that was a high side throw. It had a lot of shape on it, but that kind of bladed flick is forgiving over there, right? You don't have to be as precise. It's a lot of, and then you've got this receiver that has a grabosphere of grabospheres, right?
Who, everywhere. Her bubble is big.
Yes. So yeah, I agree. I put that every time. I probably put that sometimes when I shouldn't. I would be tempted to just be like, go.
But you're there. Ah.
It works out, right? Anyway, they're riding their chemistry right now. They're riding their confidence. They're having a good time. You can tell. So Wildfire, looking to close this out. If they can get to 15, that's like a good little mark, especially in a wind game when it slows everything down. A lot of games in the last round when it wasn't windy didn't make it to 15 either.
Right, exactly.
Little feather in their cap kind of situation here. God, I punned again by accident. Feather in your cap.
You're a poet and you didn't know it.
No.
We're just too much. Okay, I did get a question on Twitter from another Texas player I played League with earlier this year. Emmy, how does this game in the wind compare to games and tournaments in Texas? I will say it is pretty darn windy in Texas. It is also pretty darn windy in Minneapolis. I've played probably the windiest tournament ever at Pro Champs.
Oh, that year?
Yes,
that it was in
that year. But I will say, players who are tuning in from my home state and home state, this would not be conditions that is unusual for you, but it's still difficult, right?
Yeah. Regionals in North Central was a true upwind downwind, and it wreaked a lot of havoc and created some upsets in all divisions. So that was pretty fun. But I like throwing in the wind. It adds a little, I don't know.
I like throwing in the wind until it gets over 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. Then when we're eking closer to 30, it's like, maybe I'll just play basketball. That's indoors,
That's funny. I would like to see people play basketball in a condition that impacted basketball.
Yes.
I think we were talking about that the other day. But what would basketball in rain look like?
Oh.
Sorry, tangent. We apologize about that.
Comment. What do you think the other weirdest sport in weather conditions? We've seen football outside. Hockey will play that game outside. Phoenix, though, gets on the board when they need to. They need the goal. They get the goal. Can they get 5 more kind of successively?
Yeah. So it sounds like soft cap has gone on, so we add 2. So this game is to 14 now. So they need 6. So 6. So, and again, it's not that it's not possible, it's that you have to make a mental shift. You cannot allow your team to wander around the field, right? You have to play a little bit of hurry up, like clock management style, right? Especially when you're pulling, you get to indicate readiness to change the timing a little bit, right? So a little bit of hustle between points is something that I would appreciate from a games personship perspective. But then also you got to do something on defense that isn't going to be a slow down. You don't want to play zone here, right? Wildfire will just throw 100 throws over the next 9 minutes and we'll play 1 more point, right? You got to do something a little bit more aggressive and try. Maybe this would be a good time to stack a line, so I'm surprised that Claire Revere isn't out there. It's just, this is one of these situations, right? It's kind of, put up or shut up.
Show some pizzazz, as they say in show business, I think.
Is that what they say in show business?
They gotta rock it, sock it, and bop it. That's what they gotta do now.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
It's that game, you know, the game.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the game. I'm trying to apply it to Ultimate in my brain, and it's not quite catching. Oh, funny.
So Wildfire gains some yards quickly. Now kind of looking for that next movement. It's floating! Way to keep it alive from Iwamoto.
You know, that might be the play of the game, actually.
She levitated there. One-on-one in the end zone, and just straight into the breadbasket, Alex Diaz.
Wow. Wow. Come here, make a statement, home team. We like being Cinderella. Here's part 2, is what I'm feeling right now. But this game-saving possession prior to this, yeah, just a little bit, just not really sure if I have words right now. It's really nice.
Iwamoto, let's take a look at this. Play of the game. That is goals right there.
Well, she's been having such a great game behind the disc. Like, her and Lang have been generaling this offense. That's not the best word for that, but, you know, figuring out how to navigate every zone, how to be careful with the disc, how to find people on that high side. I don't think they have turnovers between the two of them, right? Just having a great game. So really
beautiful. Just
like a sneak peek at a totally other facet of Iwamoto's game, and that is a very well played thing.
So let's get a quick update from Tony. Tony, what's happening?
Hey, I'm over here with Molly Brown and Siege right now. Molly Brown is up 12-5. I think they just took 13-5. I do have my Dina Elenelic sticker. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
That's Chrome right there. She's making the action. She's also on the back of our program.
Oh,
and then behind me
cool.
over this way is Brute Squad and Schwa. Brute Squad up 12-5. So they are taking care of business. But another hit from Lisa Picathlete from Molly Brown told me, kind of like echoing what we heard from Maddie saying, which is like long tournament to go. We're still working through to try to get our best selves, and you know they're rolling away with this game. So they're still focused on getting better as a top seed here at Molly Brown.
Thanks, Tony. Those top teams taking care of business, while Phoenix is trying to quickly convert here. But this is a game point scenario. It is sudden death for them every point here on out.
They are moving the disc very quickly.
And they get the goal.
I would have liked to see this 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
And I don't mean to sound sassy. It's hard to make those corrections in games, but time is always a factor. And if you say later, right, we'll adjust later. But this is really like what our game plan was, and so we're going to be stubborn and stick to it. Then you don't leave yourself any forgiveness or any wiggle room at the end of the game when you gotta find a way to make the drive, right? So that was the regular Phoenix O-line. Mm-hmm. Also, Clara Revere not on it.
Wow.
Not real sure. You know exactly what maybe you are like, these are our chemistry 7. They should do the thing that they always do.
Let's keep with the system.
Don't want to break it. That's fair. But you know, even now, Clara Revere walking over the sideline. I don't know if she's decided to save legs for later. But interesting to see. And again, we don't know the whole story, right?
Exactly. And it's a long tournament. So you go from here. They did get the hold. Even though it was not a stacked O-line on that point, they did take care of what they needed to. But this is the critical moment for Phoenix coming up on the point.
And they benefit a little bit. If this end zone that they're pulling out of is truly the difficult end zone, then great. They might actually have a good opportunity to get a D, get a short field situation, score quickly, and make this push this into more time. But if I know, but they came down in a zone. Okay, so Phoenix is in a zone. Wildfire has been crushing it on zone the entire time. It's also going to slow down the pace of play. So if they think this is their best opportunity to get a D, kudos.
And Ledley was there, but I believe a strip foul is going to be called.
Again, really appreciate the hand signals.
Oh, love the hand signals. Okay, we're going to take a second look. Tell us what you think. It was contested. Oh. Interesting.
Okay, so it's going back. What do you think, Emmy?
I do not think it was a foul. From that camera angle, and that maybe isn't the best perspective too, but from that angle, to me, it did not look like a foul. What do you think?
There was a lot of glare on the monitor. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Nice bit there by Lang.
Such a great grab. This is game point! Going to the ground to get the score. And Southern California Wildfire, though Santa Ana winds blowing, they will upset Phoenix in this pool play 14-9. What do you make of it, Aaron?
Well, it's a definitive way to settle the matchup of the matchup, the rematch of the rematch, dispute, right? We heard from both teams that they didn't feel like they played their best or they didn't have their full roster. I don't think that this was Phoenix at their best, which is unfortunate. But I do think that this was maybe Wildfire approaching their best. So
right. I don't even think it's Wildfire's best.
Right. And they have, as you said, they have like 2 more days-ish to keep getting better. But yeah, I guess, you know, be more mindful of how slow a zone game goes. If you dig yourself a hole, you got to make some time adjustments. And if you can't control what happens on the field, control the in-between moments as best you can. But you do. In wind, you got to control what you can control. And Wildfire controlled the yardage, they controlled the clock, and they controlled the dangerous end zone, and it shows.
It definitely did. Well, we have a lot more Ultimate. I believe we have 3 more rounds on the USA Ultimate, 2 more rounds on the USA Ultimate live streams today. The 2019 USA Ultimate National Championships are presented by VC Ultimate, providing Ultimate's best custom team uniforms and apparel since 1998. Visit VC on the web at vcultimate.com. This live stream is produced by Fulcrum Media for USA Ultimate. What a showing from Wildfire. For Aaron Maraca, I'm Emmy Fitzgerald. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.